My name is Christopher Probst, ASC. I'm a cinematographer working in commercials, music videos, television, and feature films. I'm here to talk about the new RS2 and the Komodo combination. As a cinematographer, I'm always looking for a tool to solve a problem. So I keep my eyes out for whatever technologies are coming down the pipe and keep them in my back pocket to try to see if down the line, oh, that's what I need to solve that problem. I think a lot of people at the early days of when gimbals were coming out and being explored were somehow thinking that it's a replacement for a Steadicam. It's going to allow the cinematographer to grab the camera. And what we eventually discovered is that it's not a direct replacement, it's an addition to and a different tool that can be used in different ways. My history goes back to the original Ronin gimbal. I always wanted something that would directly intercut, be the same sort of color science, the same sensor technology, the same recording format, the same lenses I'm using. That's an important aspect. So I was flying red cameras, but stripped down and with remote video, trying to make it as compact as possible. Certainly that limited the choice. You couldn't put a big zoom lens on it, but within those parameters, I still wanted it to fit into my ecosystem. When you're hand holding a gimbal, you're taking the weight into your own arms. The idea of a gimbal is useful to get through sort of tight areas and go through a little portal or something. So if you're strapping on big, exoskeletons or big cable apparatus to take the weight because you're fumbling with the actual payload that you're trying to hold, it becomes cumbersome and clunky. So trying to strip that down as elegantly as possible, but still be in that sort of cinema mold of a camera system and the lensing language that you're using, that's important. And it's something I think that's kind of gotten away from us because the gimbals have gotten so good that going into a larger gimbal like a Ronin 2, which many people are now almost using as a replacement for a remote head or even a Libra head on Russian arms, you're starting to lose that mobility, that lightness of form, and be able to just grab, pick it up, and carry it. Because what happens is, in a standard configuration, you have the camera underslung. So you're carrying the camera, and that's fine for certain shots, but then if it's too low in that mode, you wind up having to hold the camera up high. And even in the military, they will have Marines just hold their hands out with no weight. And after 10 minutes, they want to cry. So now put in a 15-pound, 20-pound gimbal setup and try to hold that for 15 or 20 minutes, and it's a deal breaker. So then they come up with all sorts of contraptions to strap your body to try to take the weight of this increased camera size and gimbal weight to be able to replace the Steadicam, which has a contraption that you strap to your body to take the weight and distribute it somewhere else. All of that adds bulk and constriction of motion, and it kind of defeats the purpose of this sort of grab and go and still be able to do these sort of fluid, stabilized moves. So it's not that it's a bad thing that the gimbals got larger and it had better capacity and stronger motors that you could put on a car in high wind and it would still be able to maintain stability. That's all great, but we sort of lost that initial impetus of having this lightweight handheld solution that was giving you those stabilized moves. I shot a number of videos for Taylor Swift on my original Ronin setup, which at that time I was using a carbon fiber Dragon camera on blank space, which we shot outside of New York at a mansion. We were all around the grounds there doing various shots with her running, walking dogs. We did a particular shot. We were arcing around a small gazebo and had an 85mm lens doing a arcing close-up, basically running at almost a full clip. And that was just an impromptu grab that the director decided to do. So we didn't have to lay down a bunch of circular track, which was the wrong diameter for that particular little gazebo, but and it was perfectly stable. We did a video for the track Wildest Dreams, which we shot for one day out in the Tejon Ranch, which was doubling for Africa, as well as one day on the Universal Backlot. We staged a big marquee premiere event for the movie once it's coming out. And so there are shots where she's exiting a limousine, going through all the paparazzi and the crowd, and that was me on the gimbal, drifting back with her as well. We did a short film, which we took out the first prototypes of the Monstro camera when it came out. And I also had an early release of the Ronin 2. And we did a shot where we started on a window which was broken and fluttering in the wind, and sand was coming in through the window. And we pull back and we go across the floor, see all this sort of detritus on the floor, and we pan and we travel down a narrow hallway. Now, that's not to say that that couldn't have been done with a couple other tools, but in our form factor, in terms of the actual physical location that we were at, you couldn't put a Technocrane in there. So perhaps it could have been Steadicam, but we didn't have a Steadicam operator out there, but we did have the Ronin. So we did that shot, and it was very low and raking, and I was able to control that, and that was a great example. And we actually went down the hallway and then panned into a bathroom and dollied up and found our lead character. That sort of free roaming, not tethered to anything aspect to a handheld gimbal is actually pretty nice. By having the camera become smaller and the weight payload of the gimbal come up a little bit, it's kind of like this perfect meeting of the two technologies. With the RS2 and the Komodo combination, they've expanded the weight capacity to a point where it simultaneously is meeting the newest generation of the RED camera, which is the Komodo, which has brought the size down to this small little cube and weighing just over 2 pounds for the brain alone. So now I can create a system that I can build this whole gimbal setup around 10 pounds or less, giving me back that capability of grabbing something that's not going to break my back or induce massive muscle strain, but gives me the ability to do those sort of unique shots, stabilized, but yet directly match into the same camera ecosystem I'm using. So we shot a live performance for the Billboard Awards recently with Post Malone for the track Circles. On that, we had a Technocrane, we had a Steadicam operator, and I had the RS2 out as well. We had Inspire drones flying around capturing high angles. We had the Technocrane that would get sweeping shots. And then within this structure of a big sand refinery processing at a quarry out in Simi Valley, we had multiple camera points set up on multiple levels. So I did a shot that began quite low and rose up to meet Post Malone. He came walking and then panned over, carried two of them down a narrow corridor and hinged as they went to a staircase, and was able to then hand that off to Steadicam on a lower level that he picked up and carried him through a tunnel. And all three of them had their reasons to be used. All we are as filmmakers is problem solvers. We're coming up with a way to film something, to tell a story, to put a camera into a certain position, to work within a certain environment, to achieve a certain move. But now, with the Komodo getting even lighter and the weight capability of the RS2 getting a little bit better, we're at this certain perfect nexus point.